Dave Muir said that a great marriage is not when the perfect couple comes together. It is when an imperfect couple learns to enjoy their differences. But it is sad these days the rate at which young couples within a short period of their marriages run to court for divorce. Lately, the media has been flooded with news of divorce among celebrities, professionals, and to other persons who are not well known. In 2022 alone, the marriages of actress Ireti Doyle and Patrick Doyle, Funke Akindele and Abdurrashid Bello, popularly known as JJC, Paul and Anita Okoye, Gideon Okeke and Chidera, Kalu Ikago and Ijoma, Obinna Nwafo, popularly known as Saint Obi and Linda, Julius Ago and Ibire, Bright Opocha, popularly known as Basket Mouth, and his wife, Elsie, and so on, crashed. We are aware of these ones because they are public figures, and unfortunately, Nigeria does not have a good data system, so the overall statistics on divorce are unknown. Divorce is a difficult subject for everyone and has been a point of contention for centuries across the globe. While divorce is now legal in all but 2 out of 195 countries, opinions on both divorces and divorcees remain mixed regardless of country or religion. The rate of divorce in the country has increased in recent times, with many having to question what the problem is.
Glad to have you back, and if you're just joining us, you've not missed. Actually, we're just starting the show. We just went on a break, and this is Engendered, where we discuss all issues revolving around the female gender, and we mostly do these issues with the female gender. But today, Pamela and I decided to take another perspective.
Yeah.
I think 2023 want to bring another spice to the show.
Face to the show.
So we decided to bring the male gender on the show and to discuss a very sensitive topic. Actually, to be very fair and not being biased, we'll still have the female gender come and talk about it, but let's start with the male gender. And today we have Prince Kevin Fynface on the show. He's a business and mindship coach, Wordsmith at Cicero Wit. You're welcome to the show.
We don't have our bell today, so we're ready for you. You're
welcome to the show, sir. It's nice having you.
To meet these two powerful ladies.
Hope you're not feeling intimidated or...
Well, no, I grew up...
Are you not seeing him? He's so relaxed.
I grew up in the midst of women.
Okay.
Yeah, I have like 5 ahead of me. So,
okay.
I've seen a lot.
You've really seen a lot.
It's the way he's relaxed for me. I like that. Feel at
home. He's confident. I like him to feel at home because the topic really, I really need him to feel at home and tell us everything we need to hear.
When you say feel at home, this feel at home has actually caused a lot of problems. Somebody has gone to say there's a feel at home and he went to the kitchen. And
we don't have a kitchen here, so,
just cool. Feel at home in the, feel at home in the studios. So okay. I don't know the English to use.
Feel at home on your seat. You're welcome to the show.
Welcome, Sam.
So today we're going to be discussing divorce and single parenting. Actually, single parenting as an effect of divorce or someone that has been widowed. So,
or somebody will make it as an elective decision.
Thank you for that correction. So that's what we're going to be discussing today. And I don't know, recently, early this year, I've been seeing so many trends on social media talking about divorce. I think a lawyer even came out to say in Abuja there are about 4,000 cases at courts talking about divorce. And then Aisha Yusufu made a comment about that. I want to read her comment on that issue. She said, Aisha Yusufu said on her Twitter handle early and then 14th of January, she said, we should learn to be comfortable with divorce. The longevity of a marriage should not be the price. The price should be happiness, fulfillment, and mental well-being of the couple involved. Where it is no longer optimal, people can decide to go their separate ways and be happy. So in reaction to what she actually said, just Twitter and a lot of comments, somebody said, how can you tell people to be comfortable with divorce? This sounds very illogical. Divorce means failure. It implies you're telling people to be comfortable with failure. why not divorce that man? Okay, he was referring to her partner now, saying, why not divorce that man, calling you Labour Party every day. So another one says, women play the victim card in divorce, and men too deserve happiness in marriage. Every story has two sides. Another thing about women is that they are good pretenders. They are mostly never happy without a man. Motivational speakers. Oh shit, that's what he said. Then another comment said, nobody should be comfortable with divorce. Divorce is a failure on both sides, irrespective of what happened. It means you failed your family, especially your children. But domestic violence is a good reason for divorce. Yet divorce is still a failure. The victim are the children. Now, so many issues about divorce, and there are going to be so many perspectives or angles of this divorce. Now, I would like our guests in the studio to explain to us, for people that don't understand what divorce is. What actually is divorce?
Well, divorce is basically, when you look at it from legal perspective, is where both parties, for this part of our world in Nigeria, we know that we have a law that prohibits marriage outside of between a man and a woman. And so we will say once two partners have come to that conclusion, either by different reasons involving irreconcilable differences or cheating on one partner, abuse, domestic violence, such decision can be reached in the court to say, okay, this marriage is no longer possible. So there's what they call the decree, that is oftentimes issued, which is the divorce paper given that both parties have agreed to go separate ways. And so that's what, in a simple term, divorce is. You can divorce yourself from any situation, even in relationship, but legally you have to go to court. And it's mostly the High Court that this is obtainable. So there's this thing, people who get married traditionally would think that they don't need to go to the court. No, you're wrong. Nigerian Constitution recognizes both traditional and the courts. There's no even need for you to go to do court wedding, actually. If you have actually done traditional, you did read in the church, it's admissible because it's recognized. But, we still do the court just for the purpose of what I would say, I think more like continuation of something that is already in existence. Yeah.
Okay, so let's look at it from this other perspective. We've understood what divorce is. What would you say are the major causes of divorce?
It's dynamic. The causes of divorce are actually dynamic. You can't pinpoint to one simple thing. I mean, there was a marriage that got contracted, and divorce took place like 1 month after the wedding. And what was the issue? That the man's genital was too big for her to contain. So you see, there's another case because there was, I think the guy slapped her in the course of this, and she said she can't continue because he might do it again, even get worse. So there are many various reasons, and there are very flimsy excuses people give for it. It could just be that it was contracted. It could be a long distance relationship, and they got married. Long distance relationship comes with this kind of passion, because you visualize things to communicate, right? And after much, you now meet this person. It's not the package you've been expecting.
True.
So you start looking for
that's what you got.
Alternatives. And so in some cases, what happens, she finds an alternative, and the next thing she wants to do, or the next thing he wants to do, because you see that way, I always want to leave it on both sides. It's nobody. It's basically an exclusive to doing the wrong, and you just want to just walk away. So there are various reasons that results to divorce, which you can't pinpoint. So if you say, what are the flimsy excuses that can warrant one to? If there is violence, of course, you need to walk away. If someone actually, if there's lie, if somebody lies into contracting, it probably the party is infertile, didn't indicate, there's no full disclosure. As Christians, we're expected not to. You need to live with it, right? But I disagree with that, because if the man is impotent, and did not indicate that from the beginning, she assumed, because there's no premarital sex, and she assumed that it's viral, then getting into marriage and realize that it's impotent. There's no need to contract. That's marriage contracted on falsehood. So you're supposed to walk away from it, irrespective of whatever is. Is the ability to make that U-turn when you realize you're taking a wrong turn that is the most important thing.
Okay, so you're trying to say divorce is the let me just rephrase the question. Is divorce the best answer to a marriage that is not working?
No, divorce is not the best answer to marriage that is working. But you see, when you get to that position, I think we need to, I'm sure we're going to discuss this. There's a societal limitation that comes with divorce.
Okay.
So people can't take certain decisions because of how society will receive them.
Perceive it's true.
Right? We need to begin to change all of those orientations. There are so many things we must unlearn. We cannot use ancestral pressure to begin to live in our current realities. Every marriage is workable.
Yeah.
I need to say this. Every marriage is workable. Even if you contracted on falsehood, is workable. It's based first coming to that terms, the understanding of both parties and the willingness to want to work together and see what are your expectations, what are you willing to sacrifice, what are the compromises required. If those compromises are not quite defined, and because see, life is transactional, right?
Yes,
it's transactional. No matter how you want to put it, it's transactional. So if you want her to compromise, what is she getting in return for that compromise? If the man is impotent, in this case, the man is impotent, right? And you want her to stay in the marriage, are you going to give her the opportunity to get to meet somebody else outside so she satisfies that need? Would there any possibility that they can pick your sperm and do in vitro fertilization so that she could have baby if she desires to want to have baby? So those compromises must be there to allow for that exchange of transaction to take place. So divorce is not like the best answer for a marriage that's not working. It's workable, but if it's absolutely necessary, it should be embraced so that there's sanity, because your mental health is as important as whatever it is you're going to be working on, right? But it should not be the last option.
Okay, you're talking about compromise. I usually hear some comments from people, like maybe you have a partner and he tells you, understand me. Where is that limit where we can differentiate understanding and compromise? We're talking about, okay, I need to compromise for you. The guy might tell you that you need to understand me, you're not understanding me. It gets to a point where you're beginning to take things that you should not take normally in the name of compromise, and you want to understand the guy. So where do we draw the line now between that understanding and compromise?
I think first is what I would call the recruitment process, right? When you got a job, there was an advertisement. There are criteria set for the job. You applied. Interview was done. You're given the opportunity to start serving. Relationship also has a recruitment process. What was the recruitment process? What are the things that were said in the course of relationship before you get, because relationship is connectedness, and for every connectedness there are responsibilities required. Are they clearly defined? Were they accepted? Did you agree on these terms? Or that you anticipate that by the time you get into the relationship, things will work out itself? If you anticipate that, what you tolerate from the beginning, you have to learn to live with. That's simple thing. Because if you do not define it, then it means that it will be difficult for you to now want to start shifting the goalposts in the course of the game.
A lot of people that have defined and then in the course of relationship, it just changed.
If there is a breach, of contractual agreements, let's put it in this sense, of course you know what to do. There's a breach. This are the things we agreed on. You're deviating.
Growth happens. People don't know, like, how you just see that this person changes. How would the person do?
Nobody changes. Nobody.
But growth happens to people.
Growth takes place, adaptability comes in. Nobody changes. People who you think are changing are people who are basically revealing their true essence. Nobody changes. So if you say it's growth, are you adapting to your environment? Right? Human beings are permeable. We are like amoebas. We adjust to space. Okay, so if it's growth, if you're getting bigger, then are you buying new clothes to accommodate your bigger size? Or that you can say, oh, I'm bigger now than my clothes, so you want to go naked? I don't know, you get it. So if we look at it from that perspective, you realize that for those who oftentimes bring the excuse of maybe things changes or whatever, it's the true color. And here's the thing. From the beginning of every relationship, the core individual personality is oftentimes revealed, but mostly ignored because of selfishness. So what are your values? How congruent are those values to this other person's values? If they are not congruent, if there's no congruency, then why are you engaging into the relationship? There must be congruency of values before you can say, this person I want to work with. If there's no congruency, it means that you are satisfied with what you saw and you just want to satisfy that which your eyes have seen that you're convinced about, or the things you heard, maybe the things you saw him do, right? He buys flowers, he brings gifts. You're not asking questions, right? There's this thing we oftentimes do in this part of our world. We oftentimes fall into a relationship without necessarily being into a relationship. We assume the relationship to be what it is. A guy is coming around you. He calls you up, sends you a message, he checks up on you, he buys you a gift. He has not said anything.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
And after a period, you just begin to think that this guy has listened to me. Then the next thing, you visit each other, and the next thing you're making out. Nothing has been said. Then down the road, something happens. Both of you are seeing yourself privately. The next you're asking questions, what are we doing?
What are we doing? Where are we?
Where are we at?
This is the reality of most couples,
So,
most relationships.
this are the, and sometimes some of this translates into bigger things. Then down the road, you just eat them. Wait a minute, I didn't even ask any question. So there's no commitment. Values have been taken, have been abused, right? You knew quite well from the beginning, these are your no-go areas, these are the things you like to see, these are the things you expect, but because you saw something that flashes, like, this is it, let me not spoil this one. Or maybe you're at that stage where society has put so much pressure on you, thinking that you're supposed to get married at a certain stage, so this guy is coming around, let me not become the one that will make him go. So you're tolerating the things. Every human being reviews is or herself from the beginning of every relationship. From the beginning, every human being reviews. You will get to see those things if you're not selfish and if you truly know what you're looking for. Okay,
now, if you look at it from this perspective, like I heard my mom saying something when we're at home, we're discussing this issue of divorce, and she was like, during the times of her father, you would hardly hear where they're saying they want to divorce. The parents, the couple, they stay together until the end. Some people are of the opinion that they were enduring it. Some people were of the opinion because they'll say, maybe, why will I leave my children? What will happen to them and stuff like that? Why do you think that now, in our own time and our own generation, people are not staying to fight for their marriage? Everybody just feels like, if I wake up in the morning and I want cold water and give me hot water, I can get out. Why do you think people have that opinion now? Why do you think that? Because it's beginning to look like at some point, people no longer value family or the commitment in marriage again. So why do you think that particular trend is happening now?
Absence of community and accountability. Your mom gave you that scenario because in those days, as a community marriage, a family spots the girl for their son. They go meet the family that our son has interest. We want our daughter to get married to our son. They make the arrangement. They make up the opportunity for the both parties to get to meet, develop likeness. You will see, I'm going to visit Chief, follow me. They don't tell you they're going to see, I want you to go and see the girl.
Yeah, true.
Follow me. So you follow, you see something. By the time you go, the parents are talking on one side, the kids are on one side. They create the opportunity for bonding. So both parties are involved in the marriage. So whenever there's any issue, they are there. When people have nobody to be accountable to, the tendency for them to always go rogue is very easy. That's the reason. Today's marriages are in isolation. So you don't have opportunity, you don't have a let-out window. You don't have anybody with which that holds you accountable. There's nobody you're reporting to. And so once that happens, once there's this little crisis, you meet friends, or you watch TV, we're looking at westernized situations, you say you can't take this, you cannot stay in the man's house and begin to, they tell you different things. And this gets into your head. And you find, you know what's happening? You're beginning to develop a new reality that you want to see manifest in your life. And what's the new reality? If this guy is on this thing, I can't take it anymore. But of course, you forgot that this same person walk up to you and asks you out. It means the person listens. Because by the time, before you accepted, you was talking, you were also talking, you asked so many questions, and you listened. So all you needed to do is to find a way to talk. There's no way nobody can talk. Of course, now there are people who I would call like more of devils incarnate. There are people based on their personality differences, their personality traits. They tend to act like they practice witchcraft. There are human beings like that. It's a personality because they have this strong will mentality, go get ability. They tend to act in such a way that they lack compassion in relationship, and they most cases get to meet people who are laid back. If you're a goal-getting person, you will realize you'll get to meet someone who is actually laid back, not achievement-driven individual. And if you don't understand these personality differences, you get connected. Down the road, you get frustrated because this person is not doing what you expect them to do. And so you're getting frustrated. You're now communicating effectively. Guess what? The more you act out what you're supposed to say, the more that person reacts on your actions.
Okay, now let's look at this particular perspective. Is marriage worth fighting for?
Beautiful. Marriage is the most beautiful thing that has happened to humanity. But oftentimes abused. Because you see, once the importance of a thing is not known, its abuse is inevitable. That's just the truth. A lot of us got into marriages hoping to get to be better, without understanding why we're getting into the marriage. You're not supposed to get into marriage without first knowing what it is that you're actually getting into, why you're actually getting into that, and how you intend to want to achieve the results. There is a price for every price. There is a price for every price. What price are you paying to get the price that is demanded? If you need a trophy that is made of gold, it means that you must work hard to be able to meet up to get that trophy. That's the price. But the price you need to pay is that there's commitment, there's discipline, there's diligence, there's effective communication, there is empathy, there's humility, there's understanding. Now, if you don't develop all of these skills, you can't get the prize that you anticipate to have as gold. By the way, there's no prize that is given in marriage until after death. None. There's no best marriage until after death. But you can always get better by the day based on commitment. So if we look at it from this perspective, I want to give myself as an example. I like to put myself on the seat, right? Because you don't just talk without, being inspirational. I'm divorced, right? And so looking back, hindsight, I realized that so many things I should have done right that I didn't do right. So one of the first things I do, the moment there was separation, I checked in to see a psychologist. Let me understand me. I saw a psychiatrist. Let me understand my mental being. I saw a personality clarity coach. Let me know the kind of person that I am.
You are, true.
And I also saw a marriage counselor. All in a bid to make it right. Now, when I now realize me, my faults and everything, I put it on the table. Would there be commitments on this other side to walk through the same processes so as to be able to get to that point? There was no commitment. So if there was no commitment, then there's no need for me to fight for it. Because you know what that does? When you are the one working to make it work and the other person not putting an effort, it mentally drains you. And in some cases, you can actually pass out. You can actually lose your life or you get stroke. Because then your blood pressure begins to increase. Because the desire to want to achieve something is not working. What does it? Brings frustration.
Frustration, sure.
Frustration brings what? High blood pressure. You begin to lose focus. You start losing your mental capacity. You start seeing yourself having some form of dissonance. And so the next thing that happens is that it's either you become suicidal on one hand, or you become abusive, violently abusive. Because you want to get at something or someone to prove a point, to communicate for them to listen or to be heard. So if you're not withdrawing, you become violent. So my choice is withdrawal.
Okay.
Now,
Stay back.
Okay, now what are the implications of being divorced? What are the
Well, if you're married and you have kids, there are a lot of implications. I often do say, like I told my ex, then I said, look, no matter what it is you are deciding on, please, because there are kids, let's respect these kids and respect their psychology. The mental health is very important. Adults should not, at any point in time, allow their stupidity to affect the mental well-being of their kids.
Sure.
The kids have no business being involved in that shitty business. Excuse my French. So first thing for me is, insulation. I have to insulate the kids. It means you have to sacrifice certain things. You have to sacrifice your own comfort to ensure the kids are okay. So you create the buffer zones for the kids to ensure that they don't get to feel the things that are going on in the course, because divorce don't just happen once, it takes a process. And in the course of the process, if you're not very careful, you get messy. One of the first things I did was to be sure that it doesn't get messy, create the enabling environments, and keep the friendship, and let the love flow, but withdraw the romance and keep your sanity.
Okay. So now, I want you to gist, or let me say gist. I'm not asking you a question from your personal, because I did not want to say it by myself.
No, say it.
No, like before you mention it, thank God you brought it up.
Yeah.
Because I did just want to mention that. Okay,
No, so feel
divorce.
free.
How has life been after divorce? Do you regret your action then? The decision to take to actually get divorced, and as a parent, I think you're a father to 2 children, right? How has single parenting been? Is it as easy as people portray? Because these days we see people talking about, I want to be a baby mama, I want to be by myself, just take care of my children as long as I can afford it. Is single parenting easy? And how has life after divorce been?
You know,
Then I'll ask another one now.
okay, kids are not designed to grow up in a single environment.
Okay,
Yeah, because there's supposed to be a balance.
true.
Kids are designed to grow up in a balanced environment. That's why before now, in those years, the community takes care of a child,
Yes.
right? Today we do because of work and other related things. The decision to accept divorce, it was not like I chose to. I never wanted to, and that was I made every effort. If you listen to what I said, I made every effort to want to be better, to make it right. The first time would have happened, I made the move. I was the one that was offended, but I was the one who was going to make peace, right? Because, I mean, kids are there, so you want to try as much as possible. The moment I stopped working, that's when it crashed. And I deliberately stopped. Because you can't continue to encourage such a level of, stupidity when it affects your mental health.
Okay.
Very important. And so what I did was, okay, if I saw it coming, I confronted her. I said, this is what I saw. Because I was sleeping one day and I saw her. It was in my sleep, like a trance. And I said, this is what I saw. I saw you leaving. You've packed your bag. But if you want to do, please don't do. But I'm not going to stop you. Whatever it is, whatever it was, can be resolved. It's basically communicating effectively what it is that are the problems can be resolved. But I'm never going to stop you. The day you walk out of this house, that will be the end of it. Why? Because it has happened not once, not twice. And so if I don't want to continue that route, especially the fact that one is not getting any younger. Marriage is designed for you to have peace. And also to give peace.
Important.
But if that's not forthcoming, then it means you want to begin to find an alternative route. And so it happened. And just when it happened, I was invited to speak in the men's event. I'm like, why would I go and speak in this men's event? I just had this thing just happened. So why am I going to speak? And I was going to reject the invitation. Then I was thinking to like, wait a minute, no. That's wrong. There are so many things I can say that would help others to learn 1 or 2 things, right? The marriage failed, but I didn't fail. So I need to separate myself from the experience. It didn't work out. It failed. Are there things I should have done better? Of course, there are things I should have done better. Why didn't I do that? No, I made effort, but I didn't have the patience to go through it all. I know that's one of the areas that I know, because I would have actually stayed longer. I said I think I did because I became more like the woman in the home just to allow things to flow. But it wasn't working because it was actually deforming my person. Once you begin to adjust yourself to suit, to impress, you get deformed. And so once you find yourself being more reactionary, before this happening, you're going to see in every human being we have a balanced dominance of both good and evil.
Yeah.
Right? The evil, the part you feed most is what manifests. So if I feed the good will manifest. And so if my good is oftentimes challenged, what happens is that the element of the bad will begin to present itself, because that's self-defense. Do you get? That's who we are. We are designed to self-preserve. And so if something is coming to poke fingers in my eyes, if I keep moving around, dodging it, and it keeps coming, the next thing I will do is to do what? Repel it. I put my fist up, either to push or to wave off, isn't it? So it's the same thing in relationships. The more you get challenged, the more you see other beings start revealing itself. And so in order not to generate, to develop or create that monster, You want to try as much as possible to walk away, to step aside, to let it flow. And so that's been the process. It's been beautiful. Of course, singlehood is beautiful, but it also comes with its own challenges. Because you just stay. But every human being is designed to actually meet challenges, and so if you don't have one, you start. You don't longer be you. That's just the truth. If there's no challenges that comes with the opposite sex, you don't understand. There's no way a man desires to be the best, not for himself. Desires to be the best for the woman is going to meet in his life, because the woman is the most powerful being created by God. After God is the woman, then the man, right? But she does not know her powerfulness, so it's abused. It's oftentimes used wrongfully, and sometimes she is also abused because she does not know her worth. So she finds herself in a situation where she's either in an abusive relationship, trying to find her feet, or that she's the one abusing the other person just to assert herself on the man. And so that's what it is. It's been one challenging but beautiful and at the same time expecting journey. If I have the chance, I will do it again.
Are you going to marry?
Yeah.
That's my next question. Like, what do you think? Or do you think a single parent should remarry because of the trauma of the children?
Yeah, it's important you get remarried, not because of the children, but because of you.
Okay.
Yeah, but you want to make sure that whoever is coming in will not become a conflict between you and the kids. You understand? One of the first things I did was, okay, let me stay away for a period because the kids were quite younger then. Let me stay away from it so that I don't bring in someone who will begin to think, because I might not give that person 100% of my time, and that becomes conflict. Jealousy comes in. According to Funke, she said, Adeniyi, she said, evangelism, that's begin to pop in from, you see the other person. Yeah, the person might come, I love your kids, but you're always talking about the kids and she hasn't gotten anyone yet.
True.
There'll be conflict. If she not gets one, then of course she don't want to give you those kids that attention anymore. She wants to be for her own, but forgetting that they are all yours. You only give them accordingly.
Yeah.
But she was expecting that you give 100% and maybe not give any, or you give 50, 60, and not give any, or just like that. So you have to look for a way to insulate them first. That was one of the first things I did. Then I'm now fully ready to get into the journey again, because see, if you've ever loved before, you always love again. Because love is a one-way street.
Yeah, you stated something that children get more affected. What are the possible ways to help children from divorced home?
Yeah, one of the first things you want to do is to try as much as possible to make peace with your partner. When I mean make peace, it's not for reconciliation to stay back. Make peace is basically to ensure that there's no rift, no resentment, no bitterness. Because if there's bitterness in between both of you, the kids will feel it. It will affect them also. Because imagine, okay, the kids want to go for visits. Maybe they want to do a weekend stay with the mom. And we are fighting like this bitterness, this rift. I might be thinking they will not go there. Because one of the things also parents do is that they use kids as pawns against each other.
True.
I don't do that. No. First thing I did was to give them phones so that she can have access to talk to them without me. To get, and so anytime you want to have them. But let it be that whenever you're having them, try as much as possible not to abuse the mind against the other partner. So you need to be very careful with that. So you want to create that opportunity for the kids. You also want to let them understand, if they are matured enough to know why what has happened, and that's not their fault. Because my daughter was the first hit when it happened. And it was very terrible, right? She became suicidal at some point. I'm like, oh my God, this is... Because she was, being blamed for something she didn't do by the other party, and it kept on eating hard on her. So suddenly she was like, I think this is the best choice I need to take. So I need to begin to show her, no, you're not. It's not of your fault. It's the best thing that has happened. That you're the best thing that happened to me. Best thing to happen to your mom. It just happened that both of us are too foolish to understand ourselves to relate in the manner we need to relate. When I made that statement, I saw the smile on her face. It took away that blame game on her, and so she said, "Okay, these are the people that." So now she tells me, "That man, you've tried, man. Go ahead with things you want to do." So she's open to welcome, whoever that's coming in. That will fit into that picture. But she's very sensitive anyway.
Okay, now as we round up on this particular segment, I would like you to give your advice to the single people in the house, to those that are having challenges with your divorce. You've been there, you've had the experience. So what would you advise them to do, and how should they go about it?
Okay, first it's to understand that it's not a one cap fits all thing. Experiences differ, personality differs, and so you want to be able to handle your situation as is, right? But for the singles, please don't just jump into getting married. First thing first, to know who you are, know who you truly are, what you're designed to achieve, and how you intend to achieve that. If you clearly define all of these things, then you bring it on the table. When you meet the next person you think you want to spend the rest of your life with, put everything on the table and tell this individual, this is who you are, what you intend to achieve, how you intend to achieve it. If they find a space to be part of the how-to, then it means the journey can go, because see, marriage is the thing about complementarity. It's not just compatibility. I found out after my experience. So you want to find those who complement you much more than those who are compatible with you. It's not about love. No, love comes secondary when it comes to marriage. You know what is important? It's understanding. Because it's an understanding that your love can retain. It's an understanding that love can blossom. It's an understanding that you can enjoy the best of it. You just know that because this person complements you, then you understand why this has happened. Then the next thing that happens is that you begin to see yourself blossom. People think it's calabar water that she's giving to him. It's not, it's not that calabar. It's the fact that there's a complementarity that's taking place. This light bulb is on now because there's a negative and a positive meeting at a particular place that allows the filament to pump up. That's complementarity. Compatibility is that you plug the plug in the socket, it could enter. That's compatibility. But for it to give you current, there must be negative and positive to give current, directing at a cause. So if there is no cause, there can be complementarity and there can be a good marriage. So define your cause as early as possible. For those who are single parents, it's challenging. Try as much as possible to do full disclosure when you meet someone and open up your heart to get the best. Now, don't lock up your shop because you have bad market. No. Learn the lessons that that comes to the experience and present your package very well. Ask questions as early as possible. Do not assume people's intention or the next person's intention. The mistake we oftentimes do is to assume intentions. Ask questions. If the guy is coming around buying you flowers, asking this, what do you want from me? I like it when the lady will ask me, I see you coming often. What do you really want from me? If I can't tell her what I really want from her and I'm dilly-dallying, then she has no business communicating with me continuously. Okay. She needs to call it off. But you see, we enjoy the flirtatious things, we get up ending up being hurt. Because say flirtatious experiences oftentimes lead us to bitter experiences. You know why? Konuma die, Konuma burial.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It was an interesting session with you. I think the highlight for me is communication. Yeah. Because I think recently I've been big on communication. Stop assuming. Let's stop assuming, because somebody wakes up at 6 a.m. and sends you a beautiful message. You feel like he's my boyfriend, sent from heaven and stuff like that. It's not so. Quit assuming. Nobody's going to beat you if you ask question. If Pamela comes to me and every day she's always giving me food and she's the opposite gender or she's doing something, I should be able to define my relationship. Don't be scared to define your relationship. Are we just friends? Are we going to date? Are we going to discuss? Even when you want to have sex, should we do it or should we not do it? Don't just stop assuming. Naturally, just stop assuming. So thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. You know, in closing, I think I want to say this, that when we meet the opposite sex and we like the individual, or we should not be shy to express how we feel, either you're a man or woman. It's very important you tell the person I like you. Don't pretend about it, because in your pretense you'll fall victim. You'll be taken advantage of.
Okay.
Yeah, you tell the person what you like about the person. What that does is it puts that person on the check. That's what it does. If you don't, you'll be taken advantage of, because you see, you get to that route where you'll be pretending about how you feel, and that person will be having ineffective communication, because the things you don't say with your mouth speaks louder than the things that you say with your mouth. So your non-verbal communication is about 80%. So your intentions are louder than the words you speak. Then finally, always make sure what you say aligns with what you think. Because intentionality is as important as your honesty. You don't say words you don't mean, and you don't mean what you don't say. That's what oftentimes kills people in a relationship, because we are thinking differently and we're acting differently.
Okay, thank you. I believe we'll call you again for another episode. We also have more time to elaborate on more things, actually. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
So I think at this point we'll go on a short break and we will return with another segment. Please don't go. We'll be right back. Francis,
welcome back to this program. If you've just joined us, this is Engendered, and it's coming to you live from Abuja studios here on KAFTAN television. Today's episode is really a special one because we're having the second guest for today. We've been joined in the studio by an in-house analyst to do justice to today's topic, Francis Adeniyi. Welcome to the studio, Francis.
Thank you very much, Pamela.
You're welcome, Francis.
You're all looking beautiful.
Thank you. So we brought you on this show. We've been discussing divorce, single parenting, and stuff like that. So should I be the one to say it, or would you say it by yourself?
Just say it.
You don't need to say it, sir. Just go ahead and just ask him.
Okay. How was it like growing up with a single parent?
First of all, we need to classify the single parenting into two. Like in my own idea, I love to break it down into two classes. The first is those people who were brought up by a single parent by virtue of death, taking either of the party, either of the parents, and the second is probably divorce or other issues. And I happen to fall into the category of the second. So, and growing up with a single parent is not something I really want someone I do not like to experience.
Okay.
So, because it takes a whole lot of discipline. It takes like where your mates are putting in 10% effort. You coming with growing up with a single parent will have to be ready to put in 100.
Okay.
You have to be ready to put in 100, and you have to grow a thick skin also, because you cannot take away the part where people are beg your pardon. You cannot take away the part where people are gushing about their parents, and you're just there. You don't have an idea what it feels like, and if you do not have a thick skin, if you are not strong-willed, at some point you think they are trying to take shots at you, but for those people, they are just living their realities. More so, if you look at the percentage of out of school children right now, if you look at the percentage of school dropouts, the ratio of people who came from broken homes is higher, like far superior, and it's due to the fact that due to financial reasons, and but for a selected few also, which this is not a choice, but I'll say the deliberate effort of my mother that took it upon herself to play the father and mother role. But when I became an adult, you see that father, that space that a man should have played in my life, I'm beginning to feel it.
Okay.
And at some point, it gets to weigh me down. But then I discover that I'm an adult now, and whatever it is that has happened, I have to be accountable to myself. Right now, I have to be.
I want to ask you, sorry to cut you short. Is it true that people from broken home, they always or usually don't know how to further on with a relationship? Maybe some people maybe from domestic violence, some of them might now turn out to also be doing the same thing to their partner when they finally grow up. How true is this particular thing?
It's not far from the truth. It's not far from the truth, but if you listen to me very well, I premised my submission on the fact that where your mates are putting in 10% effort,
you put in 100.
You have to be putting in 100, because if you grow up with both parents, you are more likely to grow up in around love. So it becomes very easy for you to have an idea what love is, what's socializing in the right environment, what it feels like. But you grow up with a single parent, probably probably your mother alone. At that point where a man should have stamped his foot on the ground and take a decision, the mother is still putting so many sentiments into, whereas a man would have damned the consequences.
Yes, and taken the action.
Would have taken a decision. And beg your pardon. A man growing up in that settlement, in that kind of environment, most times grew up to become very weak. Grew up to become weak men because they grew up in an environment where taking decision is not something they are used to. So the point where you now have to put in the work now is when you start getting aware of yourself. When you start getting aware of yourself and trying to build your own person, then you begin to find out what your values are. You begin to find out what you want and what you don't want. Your values will begin to dictate the people you interact with. Your values will begin to dictate what you give your attention, you give your attention to. But nonetheless, I've seen people, especially I've seen men from broken homes who turned out to be the most loving kind of loving set of humans. And to some extent, I love to pride myself as one.
Okay. From your experience, what can you say so far? Like, what is your take on divorce and single parenting?
Divorce and single parenting, just like I told you, is not something anyone should experience.
Sure.
It's not something anyone should experience because for me, it's even better you grew up with a single parent as a result of death
than divorce, knowing that the other party is alive somewhere.
Because if the divorce happens, you go with your father, at some point you start seeing your mom as an enemy.
As an evil person.
Especially if it happened when you were not old enough to be able to take decisions for yourself, when you never knew your left from your right. So you feed on what you have been told by the party you found yourself with. So same thing applies if you grew up with your mom, same thing. But it's lesser when you have an idea, when you have a little idea of how it all started, what went wrong, and how it got to the breaking point. You have an idea, and it will enable you to cut both sides some slack. You get, but for some reasons there are certain things I may not be able to say on air here now. But then it doesn't take away the fact that divorce or a child grew in a broken home is not something anyone should experience, because at the end of the day, the children suffers it more. The children bears the consequences.
Okay, can you, like, we're trying to round up now, can you give us a highlight of where you really wished your parents were together? Maybe it's an event that happened to you and you just wish, like, I wish my dad was here with my mom.
I wish my dad was here with my
maybe mom. While growing up, maybe people that threw tantrums at you or something.
Like I told, I developed a very thick skin very, very early. Yeah, and like I'm very, very defensive when it comes to certain issues, and at some point I discovered that I was becoming too big on it, so I had to cut down. Like, if for people who know me very well, they know I interact with people, especially women, very well, but they also know that for me, you can do anything you want to do to a woman, but it should never get to the point of physical abuse.
Okay.
Because I have an idea what it feels like to see a woman go through physical abuse. You understand? Ordinarily, it should have been something I would be doing,
Withdrawing.
and I will have a justification for it because I grew up saying it.
Okay.
You
You
get?
decided to take the other route.
But I consciously decided to take the other route. Secondly, when I graduated, when I graduated from the university, that was one of the saddest days of my life. That was supposed to be a very happy day for me, because the day I was leaving the higher institution, January 25th, 2019. Yes, and in 2004, that was when they went their separate ways. In 2004 was when I gained admission into GSS1. So seeing my mom footing the bills, taking care of me from that point, knowing that I have a dad who contributed less than zero to what I've become today. So but then I've moved on, and like we say in the outside world, Otilo.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing your
Thank you
story
so
with us.
much
I think
for
for me, the highlights from his experience is that he has decided to take the positive route. He didn't allow the negative effects actually take its toll on him.
Because in most cases, we see those children, especially the male children, becoming what their parents or their dad were. But in his case, it was a
Decided to take
turnaround.
the
It
other
was
route.
really nice.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us, Francis.
Welcome. It
And
was a
that's
pleasure.
somewhere we can take on today's episode of Engendered on KAFTAN Television. Do well to join us next time for an interesting episode. I remain Chidinma Ufomadu.
I'm Pamela Ajaero. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Aisha, they've not taken us up.
Yeah, Tete.